Welcome back to my channel. I'm James, and today we're going to be reviewing and discussing a really fun 2004 computer animated comedy. So I'm excited to announce we're going to deep dive into Shrek 2 on 4K Ultra HD from Universal Studios and DreamWorks Entertainment. Now, Shrek's always been one of those personal favorite comedies that my kids enjoy, my wife loves, and that we've always had a fun time watching. Now, the first Shrek movie I did get on 4K Ultra HD as well, and it's kind of one of those interesting things, all the things that Universal did on that one, that we'll kind of touch on a little bit here in this review, but we're mostly going to be focusing on Shrek 2 here to explain the differences, how this is in comparison to the original Blu-ray release. I'll be doing my exclusive image comparison side by side. I'll let you know all the testing data and everything that I found out when I went through testing this out. And then at the end, I always wrap it up with my review scores to let you know how the quality of this is and how this compares to hundreds of other 4Ks I've tested and reviewed exclusively here on my YouTube channel. Now to start off with, we're going to start off with the original Blu-ray release. Now this is the box that I have that has all of the films in it and Puss in Boots and things like that. But this box set has the same discs that were released originally in the original 2011 Blu-ray release of Shrek 2. And it's the same disc they've released, just put about 1 million different covers and thrown them in different box sets. And I have some of those over there that you'll see above under the screenshot comparison above. But these are always the native images pulled from the disc. So when you see it on the Blu-ray or the 4K, when I get to that in the comparison here, those images above are always the native images pulled directly from these discs. So that means without all of the things your TV can artificially do to change contrast or to try to pump up color so that everybody looks super like they're oversaturated, things like that. These are the native images that are present, which is always what makes the biggest difference in what we actually see when we're watching these on our TVs, whether it's a 4K display or things like that. Now, talking about the Blu-ray release, there's a lot of confusion about the Blu-ray release that I've got to talk about first of all. They actually incorrectly printed on all of the discs and all of the cases for Shrek 1, Shrek 2, the aspect ratio that's on these. Now on Shrek 1, they went and actually fixed it on the 4K Ultra HD disc and actually put the correct aspect ratio for the first time ever on this 4K Ultra HD release. Well, on Shrek 2, on the original Blu-ray disc, they had it printed incorrectly as well. On the disc they printed, it was 1.85:1 on the Blu-ray discs that were released everywhere worldwide by Universal. That's incorrect. Actually, on the Blu-ray discs, the aspect ratio that's actually present on the Blu-ray disc is 1.78:1. That's the same thing that was on Shrek 1. And if you look at your Shrek 1 disc, if you have the original Blu-ray release with that disc, you'll see it says on the disc 1.85:1. But in actuality, the aspect ratio that was on that disc was 1.78:1. Same thing for Shrek 2. It's incorrectly printed on the disc, and that makes a difference to what I'm going to be getting to here about the 4K Ultra HD release. But it's important to understand that before we get into the 4K, because there's a lot of confusion about the aspect ratios for the Shrek films. They were always intended to be, for Shrek 1 and 2 at least, in 1.85:1. That was the originally intended aspect ratio. On these Blu-ray releases, for Shrek 1 and Shrek 2, they were actually put in the incorrect aspect ratio, but printed that it was 1.85:1, which was incorrect because that's not what's on these discs in the first place. Now getting to Shrek 2 here on 4K Ultra HD, as you've noticed, there's a slight aspect ratio change. That is because this is the first time ever that Shrek 2 is being represented in its correct and originally intended aspect ratio of 1.85:1. Now here's where things get a little bit more confusing. On the actual packaging for Shrek 2 for the 4K Ultra HD release, Universal and DreamWorks actually printed the incorrect aspect ratio on the back of here. For the 4K Ultra HD release, it says it's in 2.35:1. That's incorrect as well. So they printed the incorrect aspect ratio for the 4K release on the outside of the packaging. Though there is some good news though. When you get to the inside here, on your actual 4K Ultra HD disc, they actually did print the correct aspect ratio for the first time ever that matches what's actually present on the disc. It says 1.85:1 on the 4K Ultra HD disc. Though I am going to point out on the Blu-ray disc over here, though this is the original Blu-ray disc that was released in all of the original sets, that purple disc right there, it's the exact same transfer, the exact same Blu-ray disc as it was released every single set before since 2011 on of Shrek 2 on Blu-ray. And on that disc, because it has that same old transfer, it has the incorrect printing on it that it says 1.85:1, when in actuality, this Blu-ray disc has it in 1.78:1. So Universal really got a whole jumbled mess of printing the wrong things on all of the discs, and except for the 4K now, and then printing it on the packages incorrectly. I mean, really, on the 4K Ultra HD back of the packaging, 2.35:1, that's not correct either. Like I said, it is 1.85:1, which is the correct one. That's actually printed correctly on the disc. So it must have been like 3 different groups of people working on actually the artwork for all these discs and printing different aspect ratios on every single disc, including the back of the case art, and just basically they didn't know what they were printing. But anyhow, to clear up all of that confusion, that is why the aspect ratio you see now in the screenshot comparisons up there is slightly different than it was on the Blu-ray. Because for the first time ever for Shrek 2, just like with the Shrek 1 release, it is released on 4K Ultra HD in the correct and originally intended and original aspect ratio on this 4K Ultra HD release. So it's super confusing how they did this, but I wanted to make sure I cleared that up for everybody because that's a big question that I know a lot of people are wondering about, because there are so many things printed and so many things shared incorrectly out there about all the aspect ratios, what's correct, what's wrong. Now you know the 4K Ultra HD release of Shrek 2 finally has the correct aspect ratio on it the way it's intended to be, even though all the other discs and other releases on Blu-ray had them printed incorrectly. Now, if you haven't done so already, make sure to go down there, give this video a like and a thumbs up for me, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That really helps out this YouTube channel to let everybody know how much you enjoy the content I work hard to create here on my YouTube channel. Especially with like this one, sharing all the different testing data about all the aspect ratios. So that way you know what's the correct aspect ratio, what's the correct release. And so make sure to go down there, give this video a like and a thumbs up for me, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. And if you decide you're gonna pick up Shrek 2 on 4K Ultra HD, I have the links from Amazon pinned down in the comment section right below and in the description section right below this video. I've always put all the Amazon links down there. This video is coming out about 2 to 3 days before the release date by the time I get this uploaded. Now, I did get Shrek 2 in about a week early for review, so this is something I've been working on for the last week to get this out as quickly as possible for all of you. So if you do decide after watching my review and hearing my review score at the end that you do want to pick up Shrek 2 and add it to your collection or to buy this, make sure to click through those links I've posted down below. They never cost you even a penny extra, but those do help to support this YouTube channel just a little bit. And it's on sale for the same price as everywhere when you click on those links. But make sure to click through those links that I posted down below if you decide you're wanting to buy Shrek 2. Now, talking about what you see in the images above between the Blu-ray and the 4K here. Now, we got the aspect ratio out of the way, but as far as image-wise, you will notice on this new 4K, it does have much better inky blacks and brilliant whites. The contrast on it, because of the HDR implementation and the new color grading, drastically add, because of the color gamut, so much more color variance in it that wasn't present on the previous Blu-ray releases that were ever released before. And it is a nice, healthy improvement. Though I do want to touch on something here. Just recently, I did the review for the Polar Express. Now, it's an interesting thing because the Polar Express and Shrek 2 both came out in the same year, in 2004. So they're similar CGI computer animated films in the sense of they were dealing with the same technology around the same time period. Now, obviously, there are different teams that worked on them, different computers, things like that. But it's the same similar technology that was around them when they were being created at that time back in 2004. In that Polar Express review, if you haven't checked out that review yet, you're going to want to check out that here on this YouTube channel. But I talked about the limitations of computer animated films from that time period. There's only so much they can draw out of details, depth to the image, and details that are present in that CGI footage that exists at all. Now, on this 4K Ultra HD release, it does draw out the absolute most detail you can get out of this Shrek 2 that I have ever seen, because this is still an upscaled 4K 2160p. So it's being upscaled from its original source material to a 4K 2160p. It's not a native. So it's just like what I was talking about in the Polar Express. Very similar thing. And your image presentation upgrade-wise to what Polar Express had on it is very similar as well. This does get HDR10 on it, and the HDR10 does help this film in several ways. On the original Blu-ray release of Shrek 2, you noticed a lot of the times throughout it, you would notice like Fiona and Shrek's like greenish skin tone would sometimes change to a yellowish greenish skin tone for a lot of the film. It wasn't as like greeny green, more yellowishy green for a lot of the Blu-ray release. That's because of the limitations that Blu-ray has with the color gamut as well, that there's only so many things they could do with that limited that as well as the color grading. On this new 4K UltraHD release, that yellowish greenish tone that was more present on the Blu-ray is gone from this. It does look more healthy. Their greenish skin tones that they have throughout the film are stable throughout it. You don't really go into the yellowish area as much as you did in the Blu-ray at all. And it does look really good for Shrek and Fiona overall throughout it. And that's where you'll notice a healthy improvement is the colors are drastically more varied through it, especially like the opening scenes when obviously it shows him going to the dragon's castle and he has his armor on, and it shows that where it's kind of like the beginning like storybook opening scene that they're telling how it got to basically Shrek and Fiona getting married, and it's kind of like a mockumentary of the beginning of kind of talking about the previous Shrek towards the end of that film. Anyhow, in that you'll notice on his armor the like glistening and things like that is so much more prominent on this than it was on the Blu-ray release. And that's throughout the whole film. They really did draw out the most detail and depth they could for this, and the HDR10 implementation really does help this film, especially for a computer animated film. They really made Shrek 2 look absolutely great compared to the previous Blu-ray release, which was pretty good looking anyways. But again, it's drawing out the most it possibly can with this 4K UltraHD release without any like implementations of heavy DNR or anything like that that's taking away from any of the detail in the image. They really gave us the most they possibly could from this. So that's where I did think that this was a nice healthy improvement over the Blu-ray. But again, I'm trying to stress, just like I did in the Polar Express, it's not a reference quality image comparison in the sense of it's not going to be reference quality above all the other 4K releases and things that are reference quality that I've tested out and reviewed before. It still is limited by its actual source material from 2004. There's limitations to how much detail exists in that computer imagery. And that is where I'm trying to make sure that that's kind of explained. It's good, but it's still only limited to a certain point. It can only be so much of an upgrade because it's an upscale from a limited source that was in 2004 of what was available of that. Now on this new 4K UltraHD release, it does get an English DTS-X audio mix on it, and I really enjoyed that. That was a nice, heavily big, substantial improvement over what you had on the Blu-ray releases before. That DTS-X works great, and if you have a system that does Dolby Atmos and DTS-X, you'll enjoy that audio mix. I really thought it added some nice elements to it. You could hear things moving around, the overheads, things like that. It had a really good kind of spreading it around a little bit more and moving the audio around better than the previous Blu-ray releases did. So it added a nice element to that, though again, that's not a reference quality like DTS-X audio mix. It does sound good, and it is an improvement in clarity, and the range on it was much better. I thought it had much better bass response and things like that as well. So overall, it's still an upgrade, but again, it's not a reference quality audio mix in a sense of what I've talked about with like Halo. I mean, Halo really had one of those reference quality visual and audio qualities on that. If you haven't checked out that review, that was really one of those that just blew me away and surprised me at how great of a 4K release that was. And if you haven't checked out that show, it is a fun sci-fi series that really surprised me, even like just kind of sitting back and enjoying that. But that one's more of a reference quality. This is not. It's an upgrade. It's enjoyable. And I did think it was an upgrade over the Blu-ray, and you'll understand that when I get to my review score here. But as far as that goes, it's just only so many levels of an upgrade above the Blu-ray. Now this does also have an English DTS HD Master Audio 7.1, and then it also gets a French and a Spanish DTS 5.1 mixes. This also has subtitles in English, French, and Spanish. Those are all available on this. Now I did show you the discs in this set. The Blu-ray disc in this is a BD50, it's region free. It's obviously the original Blu-ray release, just like what you're seeing there. You don't get a new scan or a new transfer on that Blu-ray, so that was a slightly downside for this set. But the 4K Ultra HD disc, it is region free as I always test, and it is on a BD66. Had plenty of room for the content, there wasn't any over compression, I didn't see any blocking, there wasn't any banding, I didn't have any issues with that at all, there wasn't any compression issues, it played seamlessly throughout it. As far as any audio lag, there was only some slight instances that have always existed with this film because it's CGI'd, where basically they'll record the audio later on and then put it to the CGI what they're moving their mouse around. And you notice sometimes just randomly throughout it, they've always existed since when I've seen it in theaters, since when it's been on Blu-ray, DVD, they've always existed because with CGI films, sometimes there's some slight little inconsistencies with the voice and the CGI animation. Those will always be there, they're always going to exist because it's just the way it was made in 2004. It's not something incorrect with this release, it's not something wrong with the audio mix or the way that they made the release, but I thought I'd just kind of point that out. Now showing you the back of the slipcover here, this is the only thing I didn't show you is the slipcover is slightly different than the back of the case artwork I showed you at the beginning. It does include a Movies Anywhere digital copy code, minus obviously all your special features. This does contain all of the original special features in the original Blu-ray release. You're not missing anything because it contains the original Blu-ray release in this. So it has the original Shrek 2 Blu-ray, so you get all the stuff from the Shrek 2 Blu-ray that was released before, but that was kind of a given anyways. Now I've always enjoyed Shrek. I think it's got great humor, great comedy. Mike Myers in it is great. Cameron Diaz in it's great, and Eddie Murphy I absolutely love as Donkey in this. It's one of those film series that I love every single one of them for a different reason. Some people say they like the first one the best, the second, the third. You know, I feel like as a series, they're all great. I like watching all of them for different reasons. I wouldn't want to miss any of them. And I am excited that Universal and DreamWorks is releasing these on 4K Ultra HD as they are each year. And it seems like that's something Universal is doing more and more, where they're releasing series like this one at a time. Each year they're doing these restorations and releasing them on 4K with new scans, and they're doing one of them each year. Now, will they eventually come out with a box set? Maybe in like, I don't know, maybe 9 years from now when they get all the films done. But at that point, I don't want to wait that long, so I'll buy them all individually. I love the individual cases, I like the slip covers, and I'd rather have them individual than a big box set that maybe they do those like cardboard slip covers that they slick the discs into, and I don't really like those very much, so I would much rather them in this anyway, so that's why I don't wait, especially price-wise. They're releasing this at a great price, under 20 bucks. I mean, that's a great price-wise for a 4K Ultra HD release. As far as Shrek 2 goes, getting to my review score here, I did enjoy this release, and it's a good release. So my review score for Shrek 2 on 4K Ultra HD is an 8.8. Because they did the original aspect ratio for the first time ever, kind of muddling through all of that mess of a misprinted aspect ratios on the Blu-rays and everything else, I am happy with this 4K release, and it is the best that Shrek 2 I really think is ever going to look, because like I referenced earlier on in this review, and like I talked about in the Polar Express, there's limitations with the original source material because they have to upscale it from the original source material to 4K. There's only so much detail in that CGI that they can even draw from. And this is the most detail and the most depth I've ever seen to Shrek 2, and the best Shrek 2 has ever looked, and that I truly believe Shrek 2 will ever look. Because, you know, if they ever came out with 8, 9K, 10K, whatever, you know, the human eye can't see beyond that anyways, but if they ever did, there's just not any more detail present in that 2004 CGI that we would be able to pick up with our eyeballs anyways, because it's not present in it anyways, that I really do feel like this is the definitive release of Shrek 2. If you like the Shrek movies, just like with the Shrek 1 4K Ultra HD, there's limitations because of when these were made and created with the computer graphics. Now, do I think Shrek 2 looks better than Shrek 1? Yes. And the computer imagery at that time was even more limited than in 2004 when they made Shrek 2. So again, this was limited by that at that time. So getting to Shrek 2 here, it's an upgrade and looks even better than Shrek 1 did because of the imagery at the time frame when they created this, the computers being more advanced, the software and things like that. They can draw more then with this 4K Ultra HD release because it exists more in the actual file and data that exists for the films in the first place. So I do think if they continue on doing this, obviously with the next Shrek movies and things like that, as long as they continue doing upgrades like they did with Shrek 2 here, we should see improvements in the image as it goes on because there's more detail present in the CGI as the films go on. But Shrek 2 on 4K Ultra HD is the best it's ever looked. It is recommended. It's a good release. 8.8 is a good review score. It just can't get up into the 9s, you know, up to close to 10, things like that, reference quality, because of those limitations that will always be present. It's not something wrong with this release. It's not something they did wrong. You will notice it does look better. The imagery looks better. The colors look drastically better, especially because I said of those greens. Like, you'll notice it especially on Fiona and Shrek, that the green skin tones do look healthier and just better throughout it, where their green is so much more vibrant green, as you're noticing those images above, instead of more of the yellowish green like they appeared in the Blu-rays. And like I said, when you see the lava or the castles or things like that, man, the actual color grading and the wider color gamut with that HDR10 really shines through nicely on this and was a nice healthy improvement. But it's still an 8.8, and that gives you where it falls. So you understand, like what I talked about with that Polar Express. That's where these fall because of the time period that they're at. This is the best Shrek 2's ever looked. It is recommended to pick up and buy. I'll put Shrek 1 4K Ultra HD and Shrek 2 listed down in the description section below and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. Those links take you straight out to Amazon, and those never cost you a penny extra, but make sure if after watching this review you're wanting to buy Shrek 2 or Shrek 1 on 4K Ultra HD. Make sure to click through those links I posted down below. Those help to support this YouTube channel just a little bit, and they never cost you even a penny extra. So it's important that if you enjoy my reviews, make sure to click through those links down there below. Make sure to also give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. That way we can hopefully get to our 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I had fun with Shrek 2. It's a fun movie series. Make sure to start that conversation in the comment section below. Let me know how much you enjoy Shrek 2. If you enjoyed the film itself, let me know if you're excited to get Shrek 2 on 4K Ultra HD after watching my exclusive image comparisons and all of my testing data and things I shared. Hopefully my explanation about the aspect ratio helps you understand the differences between it, but Universal really kind of bungled that whole thing up with all of the misprints on the aspect ratio. But this will at least give you a definitive guide so you understand the differences between all the incorrectly printed aspect ratios. If you enjoy all the hard work and the time I put into every single one of these reviews, make sure to join my Collectors VIP Club. That only costs you a couple of dollars each month, but it drastically helps the creation of every single one of these videos. And that's the only way I can continue to do this full time. It's always through all of you, my viewers and subscribers support. I'm not paid or sponsored by anybody. So the only way I can always continue to do this is through all of your support. You can also give a super thanks to the super thanks button down below. That goes right back into this channel and helps to create these videos as well. As always, I've had a fun time with this one. I hope all of you have a blessed day, and I've always got something new and exciting coming out very soon.